Good day, my friends. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Daily Torah broadcast, a ministry of the Messianic Discipleship Institute. You can always visit us online at mymdi.org and download previous episodes of the Daily Torah podcast. Today we are on day 5 of the Daily Torah series on Bereshit. Yesterday we reviewed the consequences of Adam and Eve's sin and how it continues to affect us even to this day. Today we will discuss the first murder in human history and why Cain killed his brother Abel. Let's pick up the story in Genesis chapter 4, and we'll start in verse 1. In Genesis 4, verse 1, it says that Eve conceived and gave birth to Cain and said, "I have gotten a man with the Lord's help." And again she gave birth to Cain's brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And as time passed, it happened that Cain brought his offering to the Lord from the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought some of the firstborn of his flock and of the fat of it. Now the Lord respected Abel's and his offering, but he didn't respect Cain's and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and the expression on his face fell. And the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why has the expression of your face fallen? If you do well, will it not be lifted up? If you don't do well, sin crouches at the door. Its desire is for you, but you are to rule over it." So let's notice two things. One, Abel had a heart for God. How do we know this? Because he brought a pleasing offering, a blood offering, typifying a remembrance of the sin committed and atonement made by that first animal sacrifice by the Lord himself. Cain, on the other hand, was a tiller of the ground, which there is nothing wrong with that. But looking at the passages, Cain did not bring his best, or possibly even his first fruits of his crop, as Abel did. So we see these teachings of tithes and offerings were being taught to Adam and Eve and their sons at the very beginning. Sometimes I think we just think that they sat around all day and didn't talk or learn anything. Believe me, my friends, God was there in their midst, educating them and teaching them his ways, and has been preserved for us to today. Then notice Cain got angry because God was trying to teach him to be better. Just like he teaches us sometimes, right, my friends? But Cain, like most children, when they are disciplined, got angry. So what did God say to Cain? He says, if you do well, will you not be lifted up? And if you don't do well, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you. But you are to rule over it. You are to rule over those desires. Did you get that? God is teaching Cain that sin lies at the door and its desire is to rule over you by entering in and creating a temptation to do evil. But you can rule over it. But what happened? We know what happened, right? Let's pick up point number 2 in Genesis 4:8. Cain said to Abel his brother, "Let's go into the field." And it happened when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. That, my power, is the power of the enemy. My friend, is the power of the enemy when you allow him in and to rule over your heart. And the Lord said to Cain, "Where is Abel, your brother?" And what did Cain say? We've heard this voice before. We hear this saying even to today. "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Not only, my friends, was Cain a murderer, but he was a liar. He couldn't even confess to his murder. So he knew it was wrong. But he had no remorse, no repentance. Total hatred and rebellion of his brother had taken him over. And what did the Lord say? He said, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground." Now you are cursed because of the ground which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. From now on, when you till the ground, it won't yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. And sad to say, my friends, the Spirit carried over from the flood and re-entered mankind through Noah's descendants, Ham and Canaan, and throughout as many as who would allow it to enter in. And this is why today we have this godless, violent, hateful people in society now trying with all their being to remove God out of our midst and persecute anyone who follows after righteousness. This is the result of one man's sin entering the world when Adam and Eve fell in the garden. So Cain was driven out from the presence of the Lord and eventually started a family, though the Bible isn't clear on how this really happened. But we do read that Cain got married. He had sons and daughters. He built a city. And his descendants, apart from God, eventually became depraved, where even his great-grandson became another murderer. Meanwhile, Adam and Eve had another son named Seth, and it was during this time that the sons of Adam began to call on the name of God. In the story of what happened, this history, this tragic start to human history, was taught by Adam and Eve to their sons and their daughters, and it was passed down to them. Meanwhile, Cain and his descendants are gone. I mean, they're out of the presence of the family and out of God, and they're doing their own thing, whatever is right in their own eyes. So let's conclude today's Torah portion. Let's go to Genesis 5:1. If we go to Genesis chapter 5, verse 1, we read that this is the book of the genealogy of Adam. So up until this point, we're reading about this, the first humans on earth. And it says, in the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them. So remember, the Lord, even though he was angry with Adam and Eve because they fell short. He knew they were going to fall short. But God, the loving Father that he is, when his children fall short, he said he still blessed them, and he called them mankind in the day that they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness after his image and named him Seth. And after he begot Seth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he had sons and daughters. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and then he died. So we see that the promise that he would die and return to the earth was true. After 930 years, Adam died. His body decayed. The spirit went back to God, and his body returned to the earth, to dust. So we see before the flood, and we're going to pick up the flood story in next week's Torah portion with Noah, but we see before the flood that the climate and the atmosphere of the earth was entirely different. People lived long, animals lived long. Some have even speculated that the dinosaurs were old reptilian-related creatures that continued to grow throughout time. You know how reptiles, salamanders, and things of that nature, fish, they'll continue to grow and grow and grow. Alligators, they'll grow as long as they live. So if you're living, several hundred years, you're going to get big. So we can discuss this further next week. I have some things I can share with you when we cover the Torah portion on Noah, about the dinosaurs. It's very interesting. And it's also interesting to think about how life must have been during that time. Everything in its most pristine form. The world just being reformed after chaos had taken over and Satan's rebellion. But Here God restored it, and he placed good food. I mean, God could have just fed us just a small variety of food, but just think of all the variety of foods that we have today, and the flowers and trees and the animals and the birds, natural organic food during that time, clean air and water. It must have been a spectacular time to live in. Peace upon the earth for a period. But as we will soon see, my friends, when there is sin, things will change fast. And what was once light becomes very dark. So tomorrow we're going to pick it up right here. So until then, please share this with 2 people that the Lord leads you to, and watch this message spread through the power of discipleship. Consider becoming a monthly partner with us at mymdi.org, and just click on the giving menu option. So until tomorrow, my friends, shalom aleichem, be at peace, and we'll continue the journey tomorrow. God bless.